From ContainerDays Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by DAX IT.
So the idea is to quickly talk about platforms and basically how you build them that they really work for you. Short introduction, so I'm Cloud Solution Architect and Managing Director of White Duck, also within the Microsoft Azure community. So basically building platforms with our customers for our customers on mainly Azure. So why we all talking about platforms here? So basically, we are trying to kill some of our pains, and I just listed some here. So I don't know, for example, I don't know, you're waiting 2 weeks to get a simple database. You have to go to run manual security sign-offs with every of the release. You might have undocumented and different ways to deploy your stuff. So I guess some of you, at least, or maybe hands up, who somehow sounds familiar with that one. Oh, at least some. Okay, so we still have the need to talk about platforms here. Good, otherwise we could have ended now and grab coffee. So talking about platforms, so what is the goal of a platform if you build a platform? First idea is to really build up some abstraction and also to reduce complexity, so to make it life easier for our developers, deploying stuff into their environment. Could be cloud, could be on-premise, doesn't matter. And we're doing this by providing a so-called golden path. So basically providing templates, documentation, and a way to deploy something on an easy and also secure way. So this is basically the main idea here. Abstract complexity, building up templates to give him smooth paths to get something deployed really quick. On the other hand, it's about self-service, which is really, really important, and we'll talk about this in a bit. What does this mean? So the idea is to build a platform that somebody, a developer, can request parts or the things they need to get something up and running. It's not about writing tickets, waiting for somebody and stuff like this. It's really self-service approach here. And with it should be a nice developer UX, so basically an easy way for a developer to get this started. Last but not least, and really important, is to build in security and compliance so that nobody who uses the platform really need to think about security or to be a security expert, but basically have regards in place and be able to really think about the feature they would like to introduce, to deploy, to bring to the customers, and not think about security and any compliant things, but still working in a compliant and secure manner without thinking about it. And if you have this all in place, it's also an enhanced team collaboration, so it's easier for the teams are happier and can focus on their real job. With this in place also, at least if you think about platforms, you should also then streamline your cost optimization, your governance, so the idea is really to have everything streamlined here within the whole platform. And all of that, it's basically about a better developer experience. If you have a better developer experience, you can faster deliver any features to your end users. Could be internal, could be external, doesn't matter. And also, your humans, your teams are much happier. This is basically the main goal if you talk about platforms. And add a picture here. So it's basically on the left, the dirt road, where you maybe are now if you have the issues that you wait for databases for 2 weeks and stuff like this. And the idea is to get to the right side, which is basically a highway where you can speed up and just deliver the stuff you would like to deploy. So quickly talking about platforms, IDP, internal developer platforms, also internal developer portals, because there is no real definition what a platform, what an internal developer platform is, what a portal is. So quickly, just a line, at least my opinion on this topic. So the platform is the underlying essentials. So talking about your landing zone in your cloud, talking about your databases, maybe your Kubernetes cluster, any place to run your compute, for example. So really the baseline to deploy stuff and deploy applications. On the other hand, an IDP is really a focused platform that should help, like the name says, your developers to deploy stuff fast. So the focus is here really to scale out, to help multiple developer teams with a self-service approach to scale out and speed up. So basically, IDP is basically a subset of a platform. And then, but not least, we have a portal. or we could have in Portal, because in Portal is basically just an optional user interface, which you might bring in like with Backstage or so, but it's not really required. So it really depends on your use case. So with this, basically, everybody basically requires a platform to speed up, but not everyone maybe requires an IDP, an internal developer platform. So it really depends on your personal needs, if you really need to rely on an IDP to speed up. And also, if we're talking just about platform, basically platform can be anything. So just some examples. First one is, hey, it's just about some cloud governance, maybe some policies in place, maybe some small templates in place to start speed up. So if you're a small company just starting up, having, I don't know, a handful of developers, this could be enough. So you have some documentation, you have some templates, blueprints in place, could be fine, could be your platform. So you could call it platform. Same if you say, okay, I'm a little bit bigger, I need some Terraform modules because I would like to share the modules to my developers to speed up and generate databases, create database on their own, and maybe sharing with them CI/CD templates. This is also a platform. So there is not really a definition. Could be also, I don't know, you would like to run a Kubernetes cluster. And maybe one cluster is enough for you, at least one stage cluster, let's say like this. This could also be a platform. So platform and IDP doesn't mean you have to run multiple hundreds of Kubernetes cluster. Could be, but it's not really a requirement. So it really depends on your requirements. And I think this is now an example, the last one, cluster API-based Kubernetes cluster with GitOps, with Crossplane, with Backstage in place. This is, I guess, could be a definition of an IDP, or most people talking about this if they're talking about an IDP or a platform, but not every company really needs a Kubernetes cluster, for example, or needs any Crossplane or Backstage portal. So it's optional. A platform could be basically anything. It should just help you to streamline your processes, to have documentation, and to allow your developers to speed up. And if you now decide to build a platform and based on the REST hands, there is still need to build platforms. It's really, really, really important to match your needs. So to not think about somebody else or listen here to talks and somebody tells you, yeah, you of course need Kubernetes cluster, you need to spin up MyBuild's Kubernetes cluster, you need GitOps, Crossplane, Backstage, and all the stuff. Could be. But maybe also smaller and easier, more streamlined platform can be so helpful for you. So you need to focus really on your requirements. What do you need? What do you like to solve, or not basically what the rest of the world is doing here. Also important, I know we are all tech people here. Do not focus on the tech parts. Yeah, Crossplane is cool. Backstage is cool. It's nice to have an UI where you have full integration, stuff like this, but really think first about what problems do you like to solve. So it doesn't make any sense to come up with a Backstage portal if all your developers rely on API access or CLI. Yeah, nice, you have a portal, but nobody will use it. So really start about thinking about your problems and then decide what actions to take here. Also, I would start really defining top 3 issues you would like to solve, or your teams have to solve. So this also includes you have to talk to your team. So please don't start and just build a platform because you think you require one and you think you know the issues. Please talk to the people. And also think about your personas. So your product owners, your developers, also your security team. All of them should be involved. And you should also know basically the jobs done to be done by the teams. To really think about across your whole organization and your whole teams. This is also really, really important. Just as an example, so we're working with many ISVs at White Duck, and so basically for us it's completely different if we build up a platform for an ISV, which basically just would like to run their SaaS application and scale out based on tenants within the application in a multi-tenant scenario, instead building up a platform for 200 plus developers with different use cases, different applications, and different requirements. So basically, those platforms will look completely different, but they might solve the same issue. So there is not one platform where you say, okay, this is a design which works for everyone. It's really completely individual. Just as an example here. Also, of course, one platform requires basically core capabilities, and also not going into the technical parts here, but more on the high-level parts. So once again, you should make sure that you basically replace any human interactions. This is what basically self-service means. Why? To remove bottlenecks, but also to reduce any blockers. So you have to get away from, I don't know, talking to a different team to get a database, opening up a ticket, and then waiting until the ticket is solved. Though this is basically core that you build up everything required to really provide a self-service manner. And this is a big issue, I will talk about this later, we're really facing when we're building up platforms at customers is really to shift the mindset towards a self-service manner, not only for the developers, also for the rest of the organization. This is really, really important for your success. Otherwise, your platform pretty sure will fail. Then I already mentioned the golden path. So basically, templates in place, blueprints in place, with all the guardrails in place, security, DevSecOps involved, governance involved. This is really a good way to remove complexity and to allow your developers to speed up. But still, also here, it should be just an option. So it's not a good idea to force developers into a specific template, into a specific blueprint. You should allow also for maybe different use cases, more complex use cases, to have access ramps where developers can also build up on their own, still within guardrails, but really make sure there is not that you don't force them into one direction. Otherwise, they basically will build up something else next to your platform and basically just not use your platform. Also really important. Last but not least, developer UX should be unified, of course, but also flexible. What does I mean with that? So it's basically, I already mentioned it, you need to meet your developers where they are. So if you build up a portal, Backstage, whatever, but all of your developers just rely on CLI, for example, or would like to get an API because then do any integrations into their own delivery tool they have built up. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody will use the portal. So you need to be flexible. You need to talk to your customers and developers to make sure where you're staying, and then basically allow them to just select the capabilities like they need it. And this is basically the picture I'm thinking about. So you have multiple capabilities, you have a buffet, and basically your developers just grabbing the stuff they require to get their job done. So you don't force them, you give them option, they can choose to get everything in place, what they need to solve their problems and to speed up. So, but before you start, you should also assess where you're currently staying, which is really important. For two reasons. First, to get out, okay, where I'm currently staying, but also where do I need to head to solve my issues. So first, once again, we talked about this, you need to know your requirements, and therefore you need to really talk to the people you're building the platform for. So really talk to the teams to make sure to better understand their requirements, their problems, the issues they are currently facing, to really build something which solves the issues. Then also really important, you need to define whether you would like to buy or build something. There are many vendors out also here which basically build platforms as a product and basically can ship them to you. And this could be a pro, could be also a con. It really depends on a use case. So do you have any unique business needs you need to solve? You have to check, okay, if there's a product out there which can help you with that one, or is this a case where you say, okay, no, I need to build my own platform based on my requirements. Also really important, and this is also something we're seeing a lot, internal skills and resources. So it doesn't make any sense to build up a platform with, I don't know, 5 developers having some hours a week to build something. This won't work out. So you need the skills in-house. You need the resources to build a platform. You won't build it within 1 week, so you will need time and skills to build something on your own. And if you don't have that one, maybe buying a platform is the better option for you. Also time to market. If you say, okay, we need to release the platform within the next month, for example, or 2 months or 3 months, it might not be the good idea to really build it on your own because it doesn't work on a timeline. Then you should also go maybe for buying something. So first part is really think about buying or building based on your requirements. Then also a reality check is required. So once again, do you have skills? Do you have the budget to build a platform or also to buy a platform is also already an issue. And also how many governance you would like to implement and how integrated you would like to integrate your governance into other tools you have around in your company. This is also a question if you say, okay, maybe buying worth is building here. And then even more important is really to see where teams are currently standing. So are there any templates, any blueprints, any automation in place? Or are they still clicking in a cloud provider portal to deploy a database, to create a database? So really assess your whole company, your whole teams. And this is where basically the CNCF platform engineering maturity model comes by. So the platform engineering working group within the CNCF took some time to really come up with a good maturity model where you really, which could be, which is a great baseline to really then assess yourself to see, okay, where are you currently staying? But also it helps you to define where you would like to be. Basically where the platform is, let's say, finished in the first version. Do you need to scale out? Do you need just templates in place for the first round, for the first version, and then basically iterate on it? So this one, I guess you will get access to the slide somewhere. There's basically a link behind, but also when you just Google for that one, you should really find the details on the maturity model easily. And then even more important, you have to treat the platform as a product and not as a project. So why and how? First of all, you should try to not solve every issue because you did the assessment within the first version of your platform. Really think about one issue, try to solve one issue. So basically for platform, it's called Syn Viable Platform. It's basically like we're talking about applications or microservices with an MVP. So really start small. Try to solve one specific thing and then iterate and getting better over time. Otherwise, you will end up with, I don't know, a 2-year project building something nobody used. You didn't get any feedback, and you didn't deliver anything within 2 years, and then you came up with something which basically nobody needs, for example. So we ship fast, get feedback, and iterate on that one. Also, please build up a dedicated platform team. So you need a team which is assigned with your product, with your platform, which has time, which also have budget to really work on that one. And don't try to build a platform with, I don't know, I have 100 developers and 10 of them now getting the Friday afternoon to work on our platform. This won't work. So you need a dedicated team, you need the skill, and really have to focus with a project and a product and a budget here. Also, you should be transparent. So publish and roadmap. You won't be able to fix any issue with the first version, of course. But if there is a plan, when you ship features, which features you're planning to ship, basically you can also get feedback on those before implementing. So transparent roadmap, defining SLOs is really important to then be able to iterate and get better and extend the platform. And you're also coming into discussions with the team and see where you need to involve and get better in your platform parts. Also, if you're something out, make sure to implement feedback loops. So getting the teams the possibility to give you any feedback. Maybe doing office hours where you can also share your roadmap, share new releases, new features, but also collecting feedback. Make sure that you have lower barriers. So I don't know, in your Slack on your teams, providing team chats and channels where basically somebody can ask questions, where you can provide feedback, where you can maybe also getting feedback from the users. Of course, implement an issue tracking and basically just be open-minded, so that you allow basically everyone to contribute, to ask questions, and then basically further iterate on those. And this is also something we're seeing much that is basically missed when you implement a platform here. Yeah, and then of course you need to define and track your KPIs. Basically, could be scaffolding a new service until it's up and running, iteration time for getting a new release out, also, for example, the time until you can restore something in case of a failure, but also don't miss to add any human metrics, basically developer satisfaction, how happy the teams are. Those are really, really also important parts here when we talk about platforms. Yeah. And basically, what I already said, measure, get your feedback, talk to the people, then improve and always repeat. And this is also the repeating part is why we should take or care about a platform as a product and not a project, because it is never ending. You will iterate the whole time like you do with products and not basically ship it as a project within some months and then basically you are gone and it's just running. This won't work. So we really have to repeat here. Also, there's from Dominic was a great talk on Monday. He's part of the working group of the platform engineering CNCF working group. So it's too late if you didn't join, but there will be recordings. So the whole platform talk, he's really a great expert on that one. So make sure to really also review that one and maybe also get feedback, because those is the team which are really working on all the details into within the CNCF. What is really, really, really important, the most important part, is the culture part when you're building a platform. Why? Because if there's not the culture, or the adoption will not take place, and then basically you have a platform nobody uses. Here, once again, it's about self-service, and basically from two sides. First part is really about the users using a platform, that you're shifting them from, hey, I would like to open up a ticket, to I would like to push a button to get a new project up, to get a new application up, or using a CLI and so on. This is pretty easy because they will learn fast that they are not blocked and that they can really ship faster. Which is more important, even in bigger organizations, is that you shift to that culture of self-service within the whole organization, or at least the whole IT. When we're building platforms in bigger enterprises, you have to integrate with existing environments. So there is no greenfield. There is something out. I don't know. We're working with Azure. Of course, we need to integrate with the Azure team to get access to subscriptions, to integrate with existing networks. Maybe there's an HashiCorp Vault in place, for example, an API gateway in place where you need to integrate. And to really speed up and provide a self-service functionality in your platform, you also require self-service for those teams you're iterating with. So basically, I don't know, you're spinning up a new project or a new space for a new project and they rely on HashiCorp Vault, but you as a platform team then need to talk to the HashiCorp Vault team and open up tickets and waiting for 2 weeks. You can't provide self-service for your platform. So it's basically a whole shift of the whole IT, and basically everyone needs to be aligned with the self-service manner, and this takes time. Also, the process needs to be updated, automation needs to be done, but this is really the most important stuff. So you can't build a self-service platform if you rely on other teams within the organization not thinking about implementing a self-service manner. You will fail, because the only option is to basically build everything on your own, but then you don't integrate with your whole company, your platform will fail. If you don't have self-service in place in your platform, the platform will also fail. So it's basically a shift you need to take within the whole IT. And this takes time. Also, I already mentioned it, your platform should allow freedom. So it's about allowing the teams to rely on the golden path, but you should not build a golden cage. So there should be, as I already mentioned, options to do something different, still within guardrails and within compliancy, but you shouldn't force them into just one direction, because not every use case is the same. you might have, I don't know, 80% of a use case being pretty similar. You have a template and blueprints for that one, which is totally fine. But on the other hand, you should really make sure that there are options if they are required to step out and build something else. And maybe they're then starting contributing that part to your platform. And then you have a golden path also for this particular use cases. It should be open for everyone. So as I mentioned, with the open office hours, transparent docs, shared contributions, collaboration. So if your users, your developers would like to provide some feedback, you would provide features, they should open up a PR, you validating it, you merging it. So it should be an open mindset here, because this also really helps you to grow your platform. And once again, the most important stuff is really culture is over tooling. So culture is really the foundation to build a successful platform here. Otherwise, just implementing the tooling, implementing the technical parts, your platform won't scale and nobody will use it. Last but not least, some don'ts and common pitfalls. Just to sum up, avoid over-engineering. Not every startup with, I don't know, 3, 2, 4, 5 teams require a Netflix-grade, complex, scalable platform. I know, we love the technical side, and we love to make things bigger and complexer and have fun building it, but you don't require it most of the time. So really avoid over-engineering here. Also build up the foundation. So if you don't have automation in place, start with automation. If you don't have templates in place, start with templates. Sure, a nice portal, a nice UI is nice, but it might not or it will not fix your issue just providing a nice UI. So really think about the baseline first, and if you have the baseline, start iterating. Also, once again, on the product part, just set and forget will not work. So you have to iterate, and to iterate, you require metrics, you require iterations. Without that, you don't get any adoption and nobody will use it. So this is, once again, think about product and not project here. Once again, I mixed up a bit, so I said it often enough. Self-service over golden cage, we already talked about that one. Otherwise, the developers will push away from a platform when building up their own underground IT. They will find solutions to get their things done, but not within a platform. So be flexible, talk to them to make it a good platform. And also, in bigger companies, dependencies kill velocity. So really make sure that there are clear ownerships, which teams doing which works, define handshakes across the teams. Otherwise, you will once again, being slowed down with blockers, with dependencies, and all that stuff. Really, really important. Yeah, and with this, first talk I ever did in time, I guess.
Okay, but we do have questions, quite a bunch of them. Apologies. So we're back with questions. But first of all, Nico, thank you so much for the talk. It was really inspiring.
Thank you.
And a lot of great insights. And you were talking about, oh, actually it shifted, so let's skip it for later. How to keep a big platform clean when the devs do not clean up after themselves after stop using one of the services?
This is a good question. I mean, this is part of the mindset shift, in my opinion. Of course, you have, using your metrics, you have to analyze and to see, okay, there is something up and running which nobody uses. I think this is a metrics part, but still, I would try to really shift it in the culture part, and to also provide easy ways to get out of the platform, to remove stuff. So culture and metrics.
Thank you. We have kind of a mismatch between my app and that screen, so don't be surprised. I'm reading out questions which are not there, cool. Because they are higher ranked, but just not there. Can you suggest some reasonable KPIs to measure the impact of the platform?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I would start really with how fast you get a use case onto the platform. So really starting with, from I would like to get a new repo on GitHub, GitLab, whatever, to first time deployed. Also, restoring after a failure is a good one, and then basically a time KPI, how fast you can ship a new feature, basically from feature branch up to production. Those I would start with, and then basically also iterate required on your requirements. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Any good open source platforms you would suggest?
Depends.
Consultant answer.
Yeah, so it really depends. So most of the time, best example. So most of the time, if you're just building not internal developer platform, which needs to scale out for 100+ developers, we even try to avoid Kubernetes, for example, in our scenario, to make it easier and maintainable. So it really depends. Sorry.
But you still are here for some discussions afterwards.
Yeah,
awesome.
Of course.
Any tips on how to talk to devs to gather pains if there are 200+ in the org? Pick some at random or rather surveys?
I think it makes sense to have teams in the first place who are willing and maybe already have some automation, some templates in place, because they already have a shift in the mindset. Maybe, but also teams who have really issues. So if you have any metrics in your company, you say, okay, a team requires weeks to get something out and running. Also, you could go for them. Yeah, maybe the mix between. But really, once again, start small, try to fix one problem first.
Thank you. So now comes the question I was trying to introduce before. So in your talk, you talked about the thin viable platform, right?
Yeah.
So like to start small. And this one is rather into like a bit more precise asking. So what's your minimum viable platform for a small shop? Just a single person actually building and maintaining the platform, and 2 handful of devs. So there's an example.
Okay, so I guess it's basically a small ISV building a platform for one specific application. I assume now. Once again, depends. If you're in the cloud, I would try to really skip Kubernetes. If you not have to scale out, starting with templates, starting with automation, getting your KPIs done. Yeah, it's really come by afterwards. So you need details to really define a possible way. But if it's a small team, based on the size of the team, I would not try to go with Kubernetes in the first place. Sorry for that one.
All good. Is there a feature complete in an economic sense? How to prevent the platform team to add another golden screw?
There is no complete platform. But of course, you should iterate based on the feedback and also validate if you get feedback, is it something which helps to scale out, which solves an issue for multiple problems. So it's basically, once again, the product story here. If you have a product, you do not implement any feature somebody asks. This is just one team requiring it. Maybe they can build it on their own. They can work around it. If, I don't know, 25 teams are asking about this feature, it should be high on your roadmap. Of course, you do not implement everything just a single person requires.
Thank you. Self-service is great, but how do you prevent critical changes where it's good to interact with ops? For example, tearing down an application and potentially losing data.
Yeah, this once again is, I think, something you could abstract in the blueprints and the golden path. Of course, there should be backup in place. This is all the governance part here. But most of the time, you can really abstract it. And once again, tearing down something, of course, there should be an option to talk to somebody, to ask somebody. But once again, the default should be abstracted and available out of the box, like backup and restore capabilities and stuff like this.
Thank you. Last question for the last minute, which is perfect. How to distribute CLIs internally in a secure and upgradable way?
So we rely on templates and version them. So basically, version templates, release them as you do with other kind of software, and then basically use a tool like Renovate, Dependabot, whatever, to enable the teams to easily upgrade to new versions, providing release notes with breaking changes, stuff like this.
Thank you. So during your answer, some last question, like really last question now, popped up. And I think it might be, again, a consultant answer, but let's see.
It depends.
Favorite platform orchestrator? Crossplane, Terraform, Cratix?
So I can say what we're working with. So basically the basic infrastructure, we mostly rely on Terraform to spin up the underground, and then in some projects using, for example, Crossplane to get any other cloud resources in. So using Crossplane for the application-centric parts, like, I don't know, getting a database, getting an configuration in the API gateway and stuff like this, that you can bundle application near dependencies with the application, just shipping it into Kubernetes and then having Crossplane and operators doing the rest for you. I also see the other side. If you require to spin up multiple Kubernetes clusters, of course, then you could also rely Crossplane on spinning up the cluster on the other of those providers. But we really rely most of the stuff on Kubernetes, Crossplane, GitOps, Backstage if required, and stuff like this.
Great. Well, Nico, thank you so much for your brilliant talk, the great question round, being flexible with my back. This is your applause.
Thank you.
From Container Days Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by DAX IT.